Hello, 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 and happy Monday. Now, listen, 2 days ago, it was 70 degrees in Nashville. Yesterday, or let's say last night, we had a tornado. And this morning, I woke up to snow. It is March 16th. I am ready to be done with winter. I don't know if you're like me, but I'm ready for the spring. Like, seriously, y'all, I'm ready for the spring. So, hi, everyone. I'm glad to see you and glad to have you here. So glad to be here on a Monday. I've been posting videos about the woman behind the leader for the last month and a half. And I thought that since I'm sharing leadership insights and some of you are new here, it might be nice for you to meet the woman behind the leader. Who am I? So today I want to take a few minutes and introduce myself, the woman behind the leader, the one who's sharing this content that you're seeing and hearing. My name is Chandra, and I'm a leadership coach, consultant, and speaker. I work with professionals, particularly women leaders and nonprofit executives who want to lead with more clarity, courage, and confidence. That's me, y'all. Now, my journey into this work has been a little unconventional. My background is a little unique because I began my career as a mechanical engineer. I was in the auto industry for 15 years. And it's really there that I learned to think strategically, to solve complex problems. I chose the auto industry because I really did like the complexity of a vehicle, but I also liked that everything came down to a part, just a part. Our bodies come down to a part. Like when you get finished, a car is going to have a screw, a bolt, right? No matter how complex it is, everything comes down to a part. But how to strategically do that is really important. So I spent my last 8.5 years at Saturn, polymer panels. We were trailblazers in that. And over that time, my work expanded into leadership development, coaching, and organizational impact. It was at Saturn that I fell in love with training and equipping leaders. But there was also a gap because as a single mom, I needed a mentor. Now, at the same time, I also felt called to ministry. So here I had this corporate side where I loved the strategy, the development. But during this same season, I became a minister of the gospel. I was teaching Sunday school, eventually serving as a pastor, working closely with Christian leaders in churches. And so, this duality of my life of corporate America and ministry began to really stir my heart in a way that I wasn't prepared. So when I talk about serving nonprofits or those who are boots on the ground, those are who are serving our communities, that's really where this passion came from, where these two are working together. My love for problem solving, but also my compassion and care for people is how those two develop. And for many years, I was living and leading in two very different worlds at the same time. I just always kept them separate. And sometimes, like anything else, it would kind of leak over. One world was the corporate and professional environment, the boardrooms, the strategy meetings, the leadership challenges, right? I can step into a room and I could talk about that because 15 years now plus, I've been in the business space. I've been trained in this space. I've worked in this space. I've lived in this space. But then the other side was ministry, the faith environment, pastoral work, leadership training, keynote speaker at conferences, banquets, retreats, training Christian leaders while walking with people through very real life stuff, right? How do you have hope, right? When you have cancer? I'm a two-time cancer survivor. How do you believe God when you see the things that are going on in the world? And so for me, it was these two worlds that I was living in, one during the day, basically, one probably on weekends and evenings. And that experience is where the language I use today really comes from. And I didn't come up with it. I heard someone say it some years ago. But I often describe my work as helping leaders navigate plain glass, corporate, stained glass spaces, because those are the spaces I have spent the last 30 years in. Plain glass represents the corporate, it's the professional, it's the organizational spaces where leadership, strategy, and performance matter. But guess what? That also matters in ministry spaces But for some reason, I'm not sure why, we don't see ministry as business. We don't always respond that way. So, stained glass represents the faith and ministry spaces where leaders are serving, they're guiding, they're shaping people's lives. And what I love about my corporate experience that I get to bring to my ministry experience is that it is business, and how we treat people and how we put structure in place and how we put processes and systems in place really is important. Because I say I spent 15 years building cars, now I build lives. But I don't toss out what I learned building cars. I bring that over with me into these ministry spaces. What I love about my stained glass space and bringing the ministry part over is sometimes in the corporate space, we are so focused on the profit, the processes, the systems that we forget that these are people. And how do we steward the people well? How do we lead the people well? Do you know, when I got my certificate in nonprofit management from the University of Chicago, one of the things that blew me away was that we will spend in nonprofit spaces millions of dollars serving our clients, but we will not invest in our front line, our staff, our leaders, the ones who are doing the work. That kind of blew me away to think, we're out here doing all this work, but we're often understaffed, underpaid. People come to nonprofits for the vision, for the mission, not for pay. And it doesn't mean they don't want to be paid. They should be paid. But because of their passion, they come there. So I get to bring both of those worlds together when I'm in these spaces, and I love it. Many leaders find themselves in plain glass and stained glass spaces. And often they feel like they have to separate parts of themselves depending on the room they're in. And sometimes, right, I say, I don't think that if you hire me to be an engineer, I'm not here to be a preacher. You want my engineering skills, and that's what I should bring, right? But it doesn't mean that I still don't want to do this with values, that my integrity is not important, that being loyal and being honest, what are my values as a believer, that's still part of who I am. But it doesn't mean that I'm preaching that or talking about it. I'm just living it every day. So my passion is helping leaders learn how to integrate who they are so they can lead with authenticity, wisdom, and confidence wherever they are called to serve. My main goal is to teach leaders, right, how to do this. And I want you to lead with clarity, advance with strategy, and influence with integrity, right? I don't want you to just be out here leading as a volunteer in a ministry space or as an executive in a workspace, in a corporate space, and not do it with clarity, not do it and communicate well. Because if not, there's going to be a breakdown. The second is I want you to advance with strategy. There has to be a plan. We have to be working on something. I often tell people I'm a coach for a reason. We're going to work on a SMART goal because we want to accomplish something. I need a strategy. But the last is the one that really is my conviction. I want you to influence with integrity. I want you to be the kind of leader in whatever space you're in, plain glass or stained glass, that what you do with integrity. Because in the end, it's your reputation and your name on the line. Along the way, I've continued to deepen my work and training. So for 20 years ago, I became a certified life and leadership coach. I've completed coursework in divinity school. I've earned a certificate in nonprofit management from the University of Chicago. And later, I also received a certificate in female entrepreneurship, earned that, did the work, because it was important to me on how do I equip women in business and in leadership and in entrepreneurship. And so I completed the certification through Cornell University, and some of the stats will blow your mind. But it's true, right? How women show up in rooms and in spaces, it really is important that we understand what that looks like. More than anything, the heart of my work is helping leaders identify what I call invisible weights. Things like fear and self-doubt and imposter syndrome, past experiences that quietly shape how we show up in leadership, right? How we show up in the boardroom. I work with women and men, but my call and passion is women in leadership because as an engineer, there weren't many women to guide me, to mentor me, or to coach me in corporate America. I felt like many times I was floundering. Women tend to carry more invisible weights and inhibitions than men. because of family culture, church culture, or work culture. When leaders learn to recognize and release those things that they lead and they live differently, they use their voice more clearly and they show up with more courage. They have a deeper impact on the people they lead when they're self aware and intentional about the work. So if you're new here, welcome. I'm glad you're part of this community. Thank you so much for watching my videos. My goal is to share insight and practical leadership tools that help you grow personally and professionally. I really hope you can use it in each space. And whether you lead in plain glass or stained glass spaces, I desire to help you lead with clarity, courage, and confidence wherever you work or you're called to serve. So tune in, apply what you learn, and feel free to share with others because together we win when we equip and empower one another. Have an amazing day.